And everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. These are our night terrors, and I hope you're all ready to get terrified, because that's what I'm here to do, or at least to entertain you as much as possible. You might not be that easily scared, so maybe you'll just be entertained, or maybe you'll just be hanging out. Whatever you choose to do, thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you guys. I love the hellos when the shows start. It's just like this reunion every time the show starts, and everybody's, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And this chat room is really like a collection of friends that have formed this really cool community. So it's just always, and I'm sincerely mean it when I say it's really humbling, because it is. You guys have created this home, and I'm honored that you've done it here. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you enjoy the shows too, because the chat really does have a life of its own. It's pretty awesome, but a bunch of wonderful people, and I'm very honored to have you amongst me. So throughout the course of our show tonight, obviously the phones will be on. That's kind of my caveat for every show, as long as we don't have a guest. But I'm always happy to hear from you guys. So if you've got paranormal stories of your own that you'd like to share, by all means, call in. I'd love to hear from you. The number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Oh, my God. I said it perfectly the first time, and then somehow I screwed it up the second time. Go figure, but I can pull some magic out of this hat. That's all I'm saying. I don't know many other people that could do that quite as well as I do it, but there you go, folks. This is always live and unrehearsed here on the Paranormal Portal. I don't always know what I'm doing, but I'm glad to be here doing it, and I do it as well as I know how. So if that makes any sense at all, then that's fantastic. But these are the night terrors. If you're new to the show, these are our shorter format paranormal portals, about an hour long. And we generally cover ghostly encounters, people having real up close and personal experiences with spirits or ghosts or beings or entities or whatever you want to call them. But pretty cool stories. Generally, we have some excellent ones. And you guys, of course, always tend to call in and share things on the shows as well, which is amazing. The new podcast went up today, folks. It's what did I call it? Oregon Logger Encounters Sasquatch. And it's a really good interview I had with a gentleman by the name of Bullbuck. He actually called into the live show first and kind of shared part of his story. And I was like, you gotta come on the podcast with me. So we got together and recorded it, and that is released today. It was a great conversation. If you love some Bigfoot stories, he's got a bunch of them, and some pretty impressive things that he experienced. So, and terrifying for that matter as well. And some weirdness too. Some of the weirdness that you sometimes hear versions of. You hear versions of as you're listening to people recount Bigfoot stories. Every once in a while, there's the weirdness that comes into it. It's like, well, how does that relate? And it's not really clear. But he's seen a lot of stuff, so I hope you guys check that out. That is live today, as of just about a half hour ago. So it was a great episode. Had a great time talking to Bullbuck, and so I hope you guys will check it out. Sounds like either old age catching up with you or you're scatterbrained as I am. I think it's the last part, but it could be old age. I don't know. It's a funny thing. I might be older, but I swear to God, I don't feel any different for the most part, other than, body aches and pains and stuff. But for the most part, I don't feel like much of a different person than I was when I was, 25. I feel like the same person, just my body keeps changing. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe I didn't age as well as I was supposed to mentally or something. I don't know. But, I think I'm scatterbrained, brother, but at least I'm in good company, right? So, you're not in the old age category. Farm. You're such a nice guy. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And it's okay. My cousin always used to tell me, he said, even when you were 12 years old, you were an old man. So I don't know if that was a compliment or not, but I think it was. I think it was supposed to be. But anyway, so we're going to do the ghostly encounters tonight, the night terrors ghostly encounters. So I hope you guys are ready. That's about all I got on the front end. So grab onto something, get tucked in, turn down the lights, grab a libation of your choice, and get ready, because it's time for bed. It's time for bed. It's time for bed. I love that. And that last video and the tentacle one, both are were given to us on the show. A listener goes by the chat name of Unknown has provided both of those to us so far, and he's got some more he's sending, so it's really exciting. There's another cool one he's been working on. We've been shooting it back and forth with ideas and suggestions, but it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to show you guys that one too. So anyway, this is the show. I better get to work because you're not just here to listen to me yap endlessly. I should have some stories here too, right? I'll get to that now. Let me clock in. All right, first story tonight, ladies and gentlemen, coming from the great state of Texas, and it has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. It says, this is my first paranormal experience. It was when I was married about 6 years ago, and one night I was about to go to sleep. I just tucked in my son, and I laid down and turned off the lamp, and I will never sleep in complete darkness again. Everything was pitch black in the room. It had been a long day, and I closed my eyes. My husband was already asleep next to me, and I was about to even start drifting off to sleep when I felt someone place their hand on my shoulder. Well, I thought it was my husband, so I placed my hand on the one on my shoulder, and I was caressing it, thinking it was my husband's hand, when I really started noticing that the hand on my shoulder was small and cold, and the skin was hard. I freaked out so bad. My heart was racing. I was so scared I didn't even want to open my eyes. I looked to my right and shoved my husband until he woke up and asked him where his hands were, and he asked me why. I bet you didn't say between two pillows, just saying. He asked me why, and I told him just to tell me. Well, he was facing the wall, so he had to bring his arms out from the other side, and he raised them up. Since I couldn't see, I just felt both his arms and his hands, and knew the cold, small hand was still on my shoulder, but the pressure of it and the cold, and I told him to place his hand on my shoulder. Well, he was reluctant to do it, but he did full force. And I then could feel the other unknown hand on my shoulder and his hand on that other hand, and finally asked me why. And I asked him, what do you feel on my shoulder? And he said, your hand. And I told him, babe, that's not my hand. And I touched his arm with both of my hands to prove it to him. And he jumped and screamed, asking what that was. Well, I shook my shoulder off, and my skin was still cold, but the hand was gone. I turned on the lamp, and nothing was there. We didn't sleep at all that night. It was just too scary. And every now and then, when me and my ex-husband talk, I ask him if he remembers that time, and he freaks out again. At the time, it scared me half to death. Well, that's a really interesting one, because not only is she feeling the sensation, but she was able to touch that hand and feel it existing three-dimensionally in space. Like, a lot of times it's a sensation, but when you touch it, the skin might be cold or the air might be cold, but generally people don't report feeling a hand under their hand. They just generally report feeling sometimes a static feeling, like a static electricity feeling, and other times they feel just the temperature, and maybe sometimes both. But I gotta say, this is one of the only times I think I've ever heard someone say they were touched and they put their hand up and felt the hand that was touching them. And I find that really, really interesting. And again, this is a found story. It's one that I found. It's represented as true, but I can't verify that it is. But my point being, this is a very rare kind of experience, extraordinarily rare. And I think it's pretty incredible. Now, we have covered stories where people feel like someone is on them, attacking them, and they sit up and they're able to strike it, and they hit something. And then when they get a light on, everything is gone. Nothing is there. But, and those are pretty unusual, but they do come up, and they come up every once in a while. So it seems like some of these entities, and again, not all of them were living people. Some of them are something else, whether it's an interdimensional kind of thing that exists almost like a spirit to us, but maybe can manifest, or if it's just a creature that's got a foot in both worlds and exists very physically, but can phase back in and out. I don't know. But that is a pretty incredible story. So I'm actually really stunned by that one. And it seems like a little thing. But there's the breadcrumbs again. Something is being demonstrated that isn't possible, but it is. If indeed this is true, that's incredible. So I don't know what you guys think, but I'm pretty blown away by that little story. And it's a short story, but it has a lot of really valid and relevant information in it, and clues. This is what I talk about when I'm talking about clues that kind of put things together in my mind. So immediately when I'm reading that, I'm thinking, well, people have woke up and punched them and felt, hands choking them. And, people have felt the feeling of hands and sensations of hands and being struck, but not very often is it reciprocal where we can strike or touch back. And that's what I find incredible. So now, maybe the really solid apparitions, people talk about, touching them too. And I guess it's possible. It's just a very, very rare thing. And this was really kind of creepy. It was a small hand too, which is like, what's that? And she says hard. She said it was hard. It wasn't like a supple, soft skin feeling. It was hard. So what the hell is that? And that's what makes me think it's something else. Probably not human, but I don't know. Because usually our hands are soft. Even if we're in a spiritual form, we're mimicking what our body form felt like. And I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just the way it works, that we manifest what we remember. So I don't know. Very cool though. Very cool story. I don't mean to geek out on that one specifically, but that's really something I don't hear about very much. And as such, it has my mind spinning. All right, the next story tonight, ladies and gentlemen, story number two, ladies and gentlemen, comes from the great state of Nevada. Well, depends on how you feel about the election, but anyway, it's coming from Nevada. And this has to do with poltergeists and physical manifestations. All right, one night at around 1 a.m. when I was about 8, my mom woke me up from sleeping. I was on the couch, and she was pale and seemed to be really frightened. Go to the car while I grab my gun. Well, she had a license, and I followed my mom's instructions. Now, keep in mind, when we left, the back door was shut and locked, and the dog was inside. As we got in the car, my mom explained what was going on. Apparently, she heard noises coming from upstairs. She heard what sounded like footsteps and chains. We lived in a house on the corner, so we could see the backyard from the street. My mom figured someone had broken in somehow, like maybe climbed a ladder or something to the second floor. So we took a peek. But we didn't see any intruder. Instead, we saw the dog running around inside. The door was locked and he was inside. My dad worked the graveyard, so he wasn't home at night, and we knew it wasn't him making the noises. Well, we had no clue what to do, so we just called the cops. Yeah, I was like, that should be like step number 1, is dial 911. It's like you don't drive around and look first. We were too scared to go into the house, so we waited for the cops. We followed an officer upstairs, but there was nothing there. My mom heard the closet door sliding back and forth, but the doors were closed. We had always heard and seen things in the house, but never anything like that. It scared my mom so much that when we came home at night, we went through the house and turned on all the lights. Again, I've always heard things, but never encountered something like this. This story is completely truthful. Oh, that's scary. And, you got to feel vulnerable. I mean, God, a lot of times when you hear something like that, I'll bet you, you have to treat it like it's someone in your house. You have to. because not to would be an absolute foolish thing to do. I mean, you don't start with assuming it's a ghost. You start assuming it's a very real and present danger. So after that, you can assume it's ghosts. But I mean, if I heard someone in my house and I knew it wasn't me, the first thing I'd be doing is dialing the cops. The second thing I'd do is, check for ghosts. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the second story. And oddly enough, most of the action was on the second story. Thank you very much. I'm here all night. All right, here's another one. It's coming from New Jersey. It's apparitions, voices, and touches. And what's going on there? How long is it? Not too long. So it says it was around 2002 at the time. I was about 6 years old. My birthday was coming, and of course, being 6, I was overjoyed. My aunt was currently living with my family, and she was really into porcelain dolls, but I found them really creepy. Well, when my birthday finally came, I was given so many gifts, and I loved them all, except one. I wonder if it's a porcelain doll. My aunt had given my sister and me a doll. I couldn't deny the fact that they were very beautiful. They just made me feel really uneasy. I was never the type of person to hurt someone's feelings, and I still am that way, so I didn't tell her I didn't want it. My mom hung it up in my room, and after a few days, I got used to its glass-eyed stare. It must have been a few days before Christmas, and that's when strange things started happening. I didn't really notice anything. It was my dad who was affected. This is what he told me. One night he was sitting on his bed while my mom got ready for bed in the bathroom. Abruptly, he felt a small, cold hand on his back. Thinking it was my mom, he turned around, but no one was there. Well, a day or two after that, when it was time for bed, he heard footsteps of a child and giggling coming from my room. He thought it might have been my younger brother that sneaked into my room to play, as he often did, but when he went in and turned on the lights, it all stopped. Well, my dad got really spooked and ran to his room, calling out my mom's name. Good thing I was a heavy sleeper. The last thing that happened was again at bedtime. That night, my sister, brother, and I slept on the same bed. Since it was a cold winter night, my dad had already turned off all the lights, but as soon as he lay down, he heard giggles. Well, he got up and went to my room and flicked on the lights, and that's when he finally saw him. It was a little boy, just around the age of my younger brother, but he vanished as soon as my dad blinked. Then he saw one of my stuffed animals smack into the wall, as if something tried to take it with them through the wall. After that, things got real calm, and soon after, we moved out. Not because of the ghost, but because of the bar underneath our apartment was just getting too noisy. My aunt stored my porcelain doll away and took it with her because it was too big and I had too much stuff already. I'm not sure about this yet, but could it have been the doll? Now, here's a little bit of history for you if you aren't already familiar with this, but the original purpose for dolls was to house spirits of the dead. That's why they were made. They didn't start out as children's toys. They started out as little vessels for the dead. And for whatever reason, and I don't pretend to know why, but they were built that way, and that's what their purpose was in the ancient world. Now, somehow that evolved through the years to become what it is today, and their child playthings. But how many of you guys have looked at dolls and went, I don't like the way that one's looking at me? So here's the thing. I mean, they were built with the intention of housing the dead. Is it possible the dead didn't get the update that now they're toys? And maybe if there are earthbound spirits, that's what they do, is they just hop in a doll when they see one. That's where they stay. It could be. And so maybe when you're seeing that doll looking at you real funny and doesn't feel right, maybe it's because there's a spirit there. And I realize it's probably not every one of them, but what if? Because that really was the original intention for dolls. So that's kind of creepy. And it's also the reason that the Amish don't allow faces on their dolls, because they believe if there's a face on the doll, it will attract the dead or demonic forces. But if there's no face on the doll, they won't want to come and be in it. So that's pretty creepy stuff, right? Okay, sorry, I was just looking at the chat to see what they were talking about. But that's a little bit of information about dolls. So it doesn't surprise me much when dolls are haunted, like the Raggedy Ann doll. What the hell's that name of it? From The Conjuring or whatever, the original one, and other dolls. I mean, people have haunted dolls. You can go on YouTube and watch video after video after video of allegedly haunted dolls. Now, I don't think most of those are real, but I think there's a few in there that are at least compelling and could very well be. I think a lot of them are put on, they're hoaxes, or they're, just somebody having a little thrill, or possibly just doing some video editing, whatever. But I've seen a few that are like, whoa, that doesn't look faked. Now, it's hard to tell. Granted, nobody's an expert on that, and only the person that made the video knows if they're genuinely representing a real event or not. But I always trust my gut on those things when I'm watching them. It's like, I've watched thousands and thousands and thousands of paranormal videos, and for the most part, you watch them and they're done. But every once in a while, there'll be one that just feels wrong too. It's just like, ugh. And those are the ones that I really pay attention to now. It's my intuition, but what the hell else can you go by? Because with the sophistication of video editing and the ability to fake things, you can't look at a video really and go, well, I can see here. Sometimes you can, and a lot of times you can still see where it's faked, but sometimes you can't, and you just got to trust your gut on those. But yeah, haunted dolls are nothing new. They've been a staple for years and years and years, not only in the horror industry, but in the true paranormal world. There's always haunted dolls. There's Robert the doll. He looks like a little sailor, really old and all beat up. There's a few famous dolls. The Annabelle doll. Yeah, it's just crazy. But careful with your dolls. If you collect dolls, definitely anoint them or smudge them or whatever, and let the spirits know they're not welcome to stay in those things. Eesh. All right, let's pull up some more stories here. Pulling up some more entertainment for you, because that's how I roll, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I got to go way down here. Way down on my list. There we go. There's my mark. Opening up some more. There we go. There's a few more. Okay, next story, folks, is coming from the great state of Kentucky. Not only is there paranormal stuff happening there, but they make great chicken too. Just for the record, you might want to check it out. I love KFC. All right, here we go. It has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. Yes, this is a ghost dog story I was talking about. This, okay, whatever that means. I see that's another one of those where somebody's obviously written another story at some point, but it's so far removed from the original in my pile that I don't know which ones go with which. So anyway, it was around summertime of 2007. I was sitting on the porch with my cat Luna, and I sat there with her on my lap staring at the sunset, as I did every evening, just listening to the woods around me. God, that sounds amazing. That'd be great. At this time, my house was also right on a dead man's curve. So anyways, I was sitting there when all of a sudden my cat hisses at some invisible creature and then dig her claws into my leg. I looked everywhere for the thing that scared her so much, but I did never find it. After a little bit, I heard what sounded like footsteps in my gravel driveway and then heavy breathing like a dog would do after running a lot. I picked up my Luna and ran inside, sat down on the couch, too scared to even dare go outside again. And finally I told my mom what happened, and she said that I was just hearing stuff. The next day, as I went outside to look around, I saw a cross like grave in the bushes, and it said Buddy on it. The weird thing about that is that there was no bone in the grave. It was dug open. Oh, God, that's horrible. Did Buddy come back? About a month later, my friend Bonnie came over and decided to go hiking, and we found an old house, so we thought about digging around in the rocks outside, and we did. I and Bonnie found some spine and legs of a dog. Eek. Later on that day, we set out again, but in a different direction, and we started running when I tripped over something. When Bonnie helped me up, I saw what I tripped over, and it was the skull of a dog. I took it back to the other bones I had found, and me and Bonnie put them together. At last we were done. We thought forever what kind of dog it could be. It was bigger than a coyote, but smaller than a Great Dane. Well, Jesus, that's a lot of dogs. That's like a gajillion other kinds of dogs. Finally, my German Shepherd, Luke, came into my bedroom and lay down. It matched the dog bones belonging to a German Shepherd. I and Bonnie spent forever trying to figure out the death and why there was no bones in the grave. And as I was looking over the bones, I picked up the shoulder blade. On the shoulder blade was a tied piece of string. We also noticed how most of the bones were in bad shape. Well, we finally got a hold of the people who owned the house before us, and they said they had a German Shepherd that went missing, and they later found it hung by the shoulder blade with the string. They took it down and put it in the backyard to bury the next day, and when they got done making the tombstone and digging a grave, they went to go get the dog, and he was gone. Ooh. They never got to bury their dog, and after I found all the bones, I invited them over to bury their dog, and after they buried it, I never saw or heard Buddy again, but I'm still determined to find the killer. Yeah, I don't know if you want to find that one. That's like a serial killer starting kit right there. That's not good. You don't want to find that killer. You want to just let that go and hope they moved on. Jeez. I hope somebody finds that killer, but I don't know. This kid's going to get hurt. Jeez. That's not good. All right, let's go to the next one. We're going to Texas again. It has to do with a lot of different, it says miscellaneous, so could be a lot of different activity. In this one, it says, this is the paranormal experience after my dream. Is this the same one? I don't know. I didn't look at the name of the other one. While living in that house, I switched rooms, and my son took over the other room. There we go, right into the middle of a story. Love that when they do that. There was a door connecting both rooms, and I would keep that one open. My son's room was being painted, and he was sleeping in my room. Well, I decided I could turn on a light somewhere hidden so that my son would fall asleep. It had been an hour since my son fell asleep, and I finally got into bed, and my boyfriend was already passed out as well. I closed my eyes to fall asleep, but for some reason, I didn't fall asleep so easily this time. And when I finally felt myself falling into deep sleep, when suddenly a powerful force hit the foot of my bed. I could feel the arms and hands as if someone had hit it so hard the bed vibrated and sounded like a loud echoless slap sound. Sorry. It was strange. The arms were one in between my boyfriend's feet, and the other arm that hit it was in between our feet. It didn't touch us, but we both jumped at the exact same moment. And I could feel the lengths of the arms on the bed, and I'm not sure what it is or what it wants, but it's followed by my strange dreams or by strange dreams. It says by strange dreams, but that doesn't make any sense. I always experience strange dreams after I have a strange experience. I could write about every one of them, but they range very differently, and all of them have to do with either possession of a girl or a very twisted, strange things. That's not a good thing. You might have something following you, lady. Something connected, or that's not good. I'd be cleansing the hell out of that deal. Let's go to the next one. This is Pennsylvania, another fine state. I'm trying to forget about all that mess, and I'm getting all these stories from the very states where things went awkward. All right. This story was told to me from my mom. 3 years ago, My mom and stepdad bought this 108-year-old Victorian mansion. A lot of weird things have been happening since my family has bought this house. During the winter months before our attic was fully remodeled into a third-floor living space and my bedroom, my mom was up on a ladder working on electrical wiring for a ceiling fan. I think I do remember another story this person had submitted. She said, and quote, "I felt a hand on my back that pushed me clear off the ladder." And she said it wasn't a nice tap on the back, it was a full-blown shove. She caught herself and yelled, thinking it was my stepdad, "Stop messing around." And when she looked around the room, nobody was there. My stepdad to this day swears he was sleeping when my mom was up in the attic. My mom doesn't like the attic to this day and always likes to have another person up there when she does some remodeling, just in case the unseen tries to pull something that might put her in danger. Since then, I live up there. So the mom doesn't like it up there at all. Won't even go up there alone, but that's a great place for your kid's bedroom. That's not good. Since I live up there, the remodeling isn't fully done yet, but when I go to bed, I feel like I'm constantly being watched. And it's a bit unnerving at times. Hell yeah, that's unnerving. I discussed this with my French teacher, who is awesome, and she believes in the supernatural, and she says that my house might be a dormant portal for the dead. Those French teachers, they can nail that stuff. It says, I wanted to use a Ouija board to see what the heck was in my house, but I was ill-advised against it because it might bring in more to my house than I bargained for. Good, whoever corrected you on that one. Good call. Yeah, you don't just, Ouija board is not a phone. You don't just pick it up and dial and just see what answers and start asking questions. That's a bad recipe right there. Again, Ouija boards I don't believe are evil, but I believe that a lot of people use them incorrectly and cause problems for themselves. All right, the next story is Pennsylvania once again. And this has to do with haunted places. This is the same author. It says, this again takes place in my family's 108-year-old Victorian mansion. Creepy things have happened throughout my 3-year stay in my house. To understand the story, there's a little bit of background. When the, as my mother calls them, the unseen, started to become an annoyance, my mom went to the public library to look up who owned the house before us. She came back with a list and some very interesting information. We are the 5th family to own the house. Before us was a newly married couple with 2 kids. Before them was a doctor who turned the 2 living rooms into a doctor's office. Before him was his daughter, or it just says was daughter, and her sister, original owners of the house. And finally, the original owners. Oh, okay, so the daughter and sister of the original owners. And the owner's name was George Lupus. All we know is that he died 12 years after the structure was built, and his wife died only 6 years after the house was built. My 2 older sisters and I think that the wife died in the house, but my mom is skeptical. Well, anyway, when my nephew was almost 2, he had his own bedroom, because the house is really big enough, and he was able to run and talks like a 4-year-old. Most people ask my sister if he is 4 or tell her that he is short for his age. He would not sleep in his room for the longest time, and he would cry and tell my sister that he's scared. He wouldn't tell us what he was scared of. He just kept saying, mean man, or if I tell, he will get me. Finally, my mom had gotten him to tell us what was wrong in his room, and she asked him, who's trying to get you? He would reply, a mean man. What color is he? Green. Do you know his name? Oh, Nessie. Oh, thank you, Nessie. Lots of love. That's very sweet. Thank you so much. Do you know his name? He stopped and stared at the wall in the kitchen for a minute or 2, and then he replied, George. My mother and sister looked at each other. I didn't get it until my mom shooed my nephew into the living room to go watch SpongeBob while we talked. Then she filled me in on that George, or George Lupus, was the builder and original owner of the house. Then after his second birthday, he seemed to have no problem with the room. But lately he'd been waking up in the middle of the night crying, his eyes out saying a monster is going to get him. I'm a little bit worried for his safety in the room, but my mom refuses to believe that the unseen are going to harm us. They just seem to be annoyance. If somebody's scared, it doesn't matter what you believe. At that point, if a child is being terrorized, it doesn't matter if that fits into your paradigm or not. You got to get that crap out of your house. Wow, you got to protect the kids, lady. Ugh, I know the story's really old. It's from 2009, but it's new to me. That's my reaction. It's like, oh God. It's one thing to have a belief for yourself, but I don't think it's fair to have that belief for everyone else too. It's just not good. I don't think that's good. I don't know what you guys think, but if a kid is scared, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind living with, things that happen to be around. I've lived in many houses that I believe had presences in them, but never did somebody, if anyone got scared, it was already, then it was game over. Then it was time to clean and clear and do what I can do. But I don't think you can risk the safety of a child because of your belief that, well, they won't hurt us. Are you sure? I wouldn't be sure. You don't know these people. You don't know who they were in life or if they were people at all. Just my 2 cents, but that's not one I would play with. If a kid's getting terrorized, it's game over. All right, here we go. Got a few more. Oh God, that's funny. The Minion's been losing. He's lost 2 bottom teeth now. The 2 bottom teeth, and so it's he's just happier than hell because he's already getting cash out of the deal. So I think he's planning on how to get the rest of them out because he loves to go shopping. But I see there's a story coming up about a tooth fairy thing, so I can't wait to read that. All right, here's a shorter one. This one's from Vermont, and it has to do with miscellaneous. This starts back 2 summers ago when it was a hot night and the coy dogs barked at an unsuspecting cat. The wind was just a breeze and the moon was just peeking over the treetops and was making the trees look like scowling monsters with a lot of leaf bugs on them. This person's not a bad writer. My eyes slid off to sleep listening to the small violinists outside. It says hack. What was that? Hack, like a hacking noise. I picked my head up slightly and looked out the window. Well, nothing was there, and the hack noise sounded like someone was stabbed in the gut and was coughing up blood. Sounded like it was getting closer to the one-room schoolhouse down the dirt road in front of my house. Hack. A shiver crawled up my spine every time I heard it. I finally had enough and almost ran into my sister's room. You heard it too? My sister was sitting up in bed with a lamp on the side table. The hack was still closer. I heard it again and cringed in fear, and it sounded like it was right outside of our house. Knowing we were there watching it. I slept in my sister's room that night, and we stayed up mostly that night. And we heard it several times during the summer. I still jump when I hear hack at night. Since I turned 15, I haven't heard it much, but summer's on its way. Oof. That's kind of written really well for a younger person. And granted, sometimes when I read the really well written ones, it's like, is this just some creative writing? Because I tend to think that and that's not fair. I mean, because I've said it before, but just because people are literate and can really write doesn't mean that their experiences aren't valid. But it's always a red flag for me. It's like, ooh, that's really well written. And so I don't know, but if that's real, it does seem kind of poetic and in a sense, or foreboding. I don't know. I don't know if it's real or not, but if it is, that's terrible because somebody's maybe living out there, they're being stabbed to death over and over and over, and that's got to be horrible. All right, next story. Let's see. This is from Illinois, and it's haunted places. Not real long one either. It says, in honor of my friend's 25th birthday, I thought I'd share a quick story. My friend Sean and I are originally from Chicago. However, I currently live in the suburbs and he in New York. About every 2 months, he comes home for a long weekend. Normally, he'll rent a hotel room in the city for a Saturday night. My fiance and I will come out and spend the night. Usually, we'll get food and visit a few bars. About 3 months ago, he came out and made reservations at the Ambassador East Hotel, which is located in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. Frank Sinatra and John F. Kennedy were known to stay there. I believe North by Northwest was filmed there, and it's also home to the famous Pump Room. And Sean checked in around 3 p.m., and my fiance and I met him at around 7:30, and we ordered some takeout and pre-gamed a little. We headed to the bars at around 10-ish. We filed back into the room at around 3 a.m. There was only one bed, king-sized, and somehow we all shared it. I was on the side of the bed closest to the bathroom. The room was really small, so the bathroom was a few feet away. Sometime around 9 a.m., I woke up and saw a man in a long coat standing at the end of the bed corner, and at first I thought I was sleeping still, but I blinked and he was still there. Both my fiance and Sean were in bed, and I nudged my fiance next to me and said, "Look, Kyle, look." Of course, it took a few nudges, but by the time Kyle sat up a little, the figure was gone. I had walked into the bathroom. The door was open. I got up and checked the bathroom. It was empty. The hotel door was locked, and the three of us were in there. I eventually went back to sleep, and we checked out at around 11 a.m. and went out to breakfast. Sitting at the table, we talked about the previous night, who we saw at the bars and how much money we spent and how much money we hopefully had left. And Kyle made a comment along the lines of, "What kind of dream did you have this morning?" And I explained what I saw, and after I finished, Sean goes, "Well, that's weird. When I took a shower yesterday after check-in, I saw what looked like a man standing in the bathroom." Neither Kyle nor I knew this happened until Sean told us. Now, I could have been dreaming, still foggy that morning. I wasn't hungover by any means. The fact that Sean saw something too earlier the previous day is odd. He wasn't hungover or drunk either, and it was 3 in the afternoon, and Kyle didn't see anything. I'm pretty sure of what I saw, and Sean is pretty sure of what he saw too. That's very possible. Hotels always have a lot of, I don't know what it is about hotels, and I suppose, people die in hotels, and maybe that's an interesting place for an earthbound spirit to be, like it's a hotel. You can people watch all day long and experience people's lives as they come and go, and maybe that's a form of entertainment. I don't know. I guess if I was going to be earthbound spirit, I'd want to be someplace kind of like that, where you could just watch people do their thing. I don't know. Rather than like in so many stories, it's in my closet. It lives in my closet. It's like, oh God, that's got to be a hellish existence. But who knows if they stay there or if those closets are portals. All right, the next one is coming from Texas. It has to do with children who see spirits. I was only 6 years old when I got my very first ghost experience. For weeks, I would wake up hearing people whispering in my ear. I remember even feeling like this hot breath on my ear. Well, I lost my tooth the following week and placed it under my pillow. I went to sleep and woke up in the middle of the night to hear the whispering again, except much louder. And then I felt the sharp pain in my leg, and the bed started to shake, and every time I felt the pain in my leg, the bed would shake a little bit. I was too afraid to look, but eventually I built up the courage, and when I looked, I saw a woman with a white button blouse that was tucked into her skirt. She was also wearing long socks and dance shoes, and she looked to be in her 40s or 50s. I remember her looking at me with a snarled look on her face. You could see her kicking me very clearly, but then it slowly went away. I was on a bunk bed, so I went up to see if my brother was awake, and he was sound asleep. I remember waking up my mom, and the that the tooth fairy kicked me. The tooth fairy kicked me. And I also heard my brother talking to my mom about how he felt the bed shaking at night. My dad kept acting weird that day, and I found out that when he snuck the money in under my pillow, something happened. I don't know what freaked him out, but it did. My dad got mad whenever I talked about it, and I haven't mentioned it until now. They moved the trailer we lived in and put a new one up, and there's a new family living there now. I don't know if they have seen anything, but it would be cool if they did. That was 10 years ago that this happened, and it would be cool if anyone could tell me what the hell happened. Yeah, I don't know. The tooth fairy kicked me. Oh, she must not have been happy about that tooth at all. Poor kid, what a horrible thing to feel that. I mean, I don't know. You know, I experienced something just like maybe one or two times in my life. And it's one of those weird things that I really can't quantify what it is. And I'll tell you what it felt like. It was, I was sleeping in bed both times. And I'll be sound asleep. And then I feel like it's not like a punch or something like that. But it's like my stomach moves like something slapped it, but there's nothing there, and it's like something's hit it one time. And it's happened twice that I can remember. And one of the times was maybe 4 months ago right here in this house, but it was like something impacted me, but it didn't hurt at all. There was no pain involved. It was just like a section of my body, in my belly area moved like abruptly. And I was like, what the hell is that? But since I was asleep, I didn't really think much of it, but I know it was enough to wake me up, even with the sensation still there, not like a disjointed in dream kind of feeling, but it felt like whatever it was really happened. So I wonder if that's what it could feel like to be hit by a spirit or have something strike you or lash out at you. And I don't know. It didn't freak me out. I didn't feel weirded out by it. But I remember saying, knock it off like that, and then going back to sleep. So it didn't like get me all worried or scared or anything. It actually felt perturbed or bothered. Like, why would you do that? Knock it off. I can't be sure that it's paranormal. I can't be sure that it's anything. But it's just something that has happened twice now that I can think of. And I've always wondered, well, what the hell was that? What's going on in those situations? I mean, it could just be something stupid like just a quick muscle spasm. Makes your abdomen move. And it could be just like that. Like sometimes you'll see I'm sure most of you have experienced it. Like when you have a muscle that twitches, like in your arm or something. And, if you were asleep, it could feel like somebody was tapping you. And so oftentimes when people talk about being touched, I often wonder, is it just a quick spasm, just a muscle twitch or something from, and of course, if you're paranormal investigating, you're already running at a higher level of stress than normal. So, those kind of reactions wouldn't be impossible. And it could be a touch or it could just be something like that. I don't know. I've had that happen twice now, again, that I can remember. And it's got me thinking, maybe it is, but again, it wasn't painful either time. It was just the feeling like somebody did something, but all it was emotion. It wasn't a pain. There wasn't any sharpness to it. It was just a pain. So whatever case, I don't know why I bring it up, but it's interesting to me. So I don't know, folks. It's what I do, though. I like to talk about this stuff because I like to try to understand what it is that, if these odd little things that we experience through life, could they be paranormal as well? Or are they just some quirkiness that, we have in our bodies and it's very mundane and normal? And I'm sure probably most of it is just mundane and normal, but those two instances are just kind of unique to me because they just come out of nowhere. And I think I'm in a relaxed state when I'm sleeping, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But that's the tooth fairy from hell. That one was. Let's see. We got one more here, I think. All right. This is not too bad. I'll read this one because this is a Of course, our Sunday show, and next 2 nights we won't be doing any live streams here on the portal on our YouTube channel. But again, remember, there's lots of archives to look at if you need a fix, and there's the brand new podcast. So check that out. This one's coming from Florida. Has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. Seems like Florida's a nice place. I don't know. They don't have winter, so it's kind of nice, right? I'm just really dreading this whole snow thing going to be happening soon. So, all right. I believe the story I'm about to share with you was the catalyst for all of the experiences I've had since this happened. I guess it opened my mind just enough to make me aware of things we can't always explain, because to this day, I still have things happen. Yeah, me too. It was mid-April 1998, and my son and I were staying with my parents in their home in Valparaiso. I don't know where that is. While my husband was going through basic training. None of us had ever had an encounter in the house up till this point, that we had acknowledged anyway. I still go to sleep with the TV going, as I've done since I was a kid, and usually my mom would come and check on me and turn it off. But she still does this to this day, even though I'm in my 30s and am rarely home. I was sleeping good this particular night, and I remember waking up to the feeling of someone sitting at the foot of my bed. I could feel the presence on my lower legs and feet. When I looked up, I thought it was just my mom sitting there looking at me to make sure that I was okay. I still have really bad asthma, and it didn't really faze me, and I went back on to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, my TV was still going. I thought that was kind of odd, because my mom had come in to check on me and didn't turn it off like she usually does. Well, I walked back to her in my dad's room and found my mom blow drying her hair, and I asked her if I could talk to her a minute. So she stopped working on her hair and asked me if something was wrong. I then looked at her and asked her why she had come into my room and sat at the foot of my bed, looking at me, and then left the TV on. Well, she looked like a deer and caught in the headlights and asked me what on earth I was talking about. So I asked again, and she said that she hadn't come into my room at all that night. We went back and forth for a few minutes until my dad woke up and asked what we were talking about, so I asked him if he had come into my room, and he also said no. I had this chill come over me and told them both to quit messing with me and tell me the truth, and they both denied coming in. And we all knew that it wasn't my son, since he was only 15 months old and still slept in his crib without knowing how to climb down. My parents started to get a little worried, seeing as how I was clearly freaked out. My mom asked me what all I remembered and if I could tell her exactly what I saw. I started telling them both what I could recall, and then it hit me. I had opened my eyes and saw someone sitting at the foot of my bed looking at me, but it didn't scare me at the time. I also recalled that I could see my TV on through the person sitting on my bed. The best way I could describe it was that it looked at me in a way that was like someone tending to an ill child or a patient. It was in no way menacing, and I really couldn't make out many facial features since I only saw it for a couple of seconds, and I was woke up from a sound sleep. Both of my parents looked panicked as I told them what I remembered, and even went and checked all the doors and such to be sure that no one had gotten in the house. But if that would have been the case, why on earth would someone come sit on my bed and look at me and do nothing else? I still don't know whose ghost it was, but I'd like to think it was one of my close relatives who had passed on, just coming to check on me now that my husband was gone. Thinking of it that way makes it a little less creepy to me. Yeah, that's for sure. It's always nice to think someone's checking in rather than someone stalking you. That would be terrible. All right. Well, I don't know. So Paranormal Portal should have Damien Knott as a guest. I don't know who Damien Knott is, so I'm not sure what that means, but I don't know what Damien Knott is. Sorry. But anyway, if that's a person that I should have as a guest, then you'll have to tell me who that is. I don't know who Damien Knott is, but anyway, this is all I got. It's all I got for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the journey. I hope you feel thoroughly entertained, and I hope you're all ready for bed, because that's my objective, is to put you to bed. But anyway, I will be back, and Don should be with me on Wednesday. So I hope you guys will come in and hang out with us then. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're doing live streams right here on YouTube. 7 p.m. on Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays it's 2-hour shows. On Thursdays and Sundays it's the 1-hour shows. So I hope you'll do that, and I hope you guys will check out the podcast. If you're not already subscribed, please get subscribed. It really helps us a ton. And keep spreading the word. Share these videos to your social media. Help spread the word and show people what the Paranormal Portal is, because we like finding new listeners. That's a lot of fun. Well, we love all of you that are already here, of course, but we definitely love to meet new people and hear their stories as well. So anyway, the podcast is out there. You can find it on all the major podcast platforms. It's iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, Castbox. I don't know. There's a ton of other ones. So if you get podcasts, if you listen to podcasts, then just do a search for Paranormal Portal and you'll find us. If you listen on Stitcher or on iTunes and you like the shows, please leave us a good review. That helps us a ton. And liking the streams here and reviews on the podcast are all wonderful ways to help us. Not everybody can help financially, and that's fine. We sure appreciate it, but it's certainly not expected. But if you could at least share the stories, the shows, and the podcast, that would be a great thing. It would help us a ton. So that's all I got for you. I will be back on Wednesday with Don, hopefully, if he's feeling better by then. I think he should be, but we'll see when Wednesday comes. But in any case, I'll be here to bring you a show. Now, it is, I talked to Kev Baker. Kev Baker, of course, is a good friend. He broadcasts on TFR Live as well as on YouTube, just like we do. But he, Minion, are you here?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect you. But we will be doing next Friday. We'll be doing a marathon between his show and our show. So we're going to start at like 3 p.m., do the Freaky Friday, which you can find that on the Kev Baker Show channel on YouTube. And we'll also be then coming over to our YouTube, our channel, and do 2 more hours. So it'll be 5 full hours of shows between Freaky Friday crew and the Paranormal Portal. So I hope you guys will be here for that and have fun with us. It'll be a great time. Again, that'll be this coming Friday night. I had to ask because all of a sudden this little head was bobbing past the top of my monitors. I'm like, what? Now, it's something I've witnessed before, but it wasn't him, so I was glad it was. All right, so that's all I got for you. Any other announcements, please follow us on Facebook. And as I learn things, I post them there if there's something to share. So if you're ever looking for updates of the shows, you can certainly find our Facebook, Paranormal Portal Radio. It's facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. And definitely check out the Paranormal Portal fans group. Cha-Cha started that. And it's been a lot of fun to see people posting stuff over there. And I hope you guys will get involved there as well. It's a great time. So I guess that's all I got. Anything you got to say?
Hit the notification bell and subscribe and like the video.
Wow, you're a pro. You're very good at this, you know? Maybe if I can't do a show some night, you should come in and do it for me.
I don't know how to read.
You don't know how to read? Oh, yeah, that's a sticking point, isn't it? That's a tough point. Well,
How if at the end of your shows, I will come in and say the stuff I usually say.
You'll come in and remind people to like and subscribe?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a good idea. So you want to show up every night I'm done and come in and let people know what to do?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that'd be a big help. Thank you. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. Listen to the kid. You know.
Bye.
All right, folks. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And
Laugh a bunches as you can.
Laugh a bunches as you can. All right, good deal. All right, you heard it from him out of the mouth of babes. So you got to listen to the kids. If you don't listen, you're just not being nice. All right, guys, love you. That's it. I'm going to close the show. Here come the credits. Hang on, and remember, sweet dreams.